Hey everybody, this is Chris Brown, your real estate professional and marketing entrepreneur, and we are here with another episode bringing you more value in the real estate world. We actually have a special guest, industry professional in the insurance world, Ms. Deb Prescott. She will be talking to us today and providing some great value, especially in regards to the importance of having insurance, especially for a number of my investors who like to cut corners that are out there. And I'm going to let Deb kind of introduce herself and kind of give you her platform, but she's going to be sharing some value with us today that I believe will be extremely, extremely valuable and will save you great investments and great amounts of money if you're following these instructions that we're being provided and value that we're being provided today. Deb, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great, Chris. Great to see you. Great to be doing this with you.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate you being here. I know people are excited to learn more about insurance. Some people may say that that's a subject that's maybe that's an afterthought. And I tell them it's so important that insurance should be thought of ahead of time because it's going to save your investment. You have a large investment, especially when you're dealing with real estate, hundreds of thousands of dollars in an investment, and it can all be secured with insurance. So definitely, I'm eager. I'm interested as well, and just really looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time, and I always encourage anyone involved in the home industry, investors, home buyers, all of my realtors to really partner and get educated and kind of understand what the insurance is and how we can help you in the process. Some people kind of think we're a necessary evil. And I would say we're the exact opposite. We're actually the shiny white knight in the days of problems and issues that come up when you own your most valuable asset.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. So especially in our area here, being in Florida. So you definitely, it's one of those necessities that people have definitely are realizing when they're in this area. So definitely.
Yeah. So I was going to touch on the different homeowner products there are, because there are many different products, and kind of give you guys some definitions around what they mean.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about inspections and what insurance companies are looking for in order to give the home buyer and or tenant the best opportunity to have reasonable rates and good insurance.
Okay. All right. Good.
Okay. So everyone that owns their own personal home has what's called a homeowner's policy. Okay. In our industry, we call that an HO3. Okay. That's just an acronym terminology that's industry specific. And that's what your standard single family home is insured with. That is something that is only for a primary residence and someone that lives and owns in their own home. What our investors tend to look at is what we call the rental dwelling policy, potentially, or the acronym we use is RDP. And your rental dwelling policy is really ensuring just the structure for someone else's contents to be in. Okay, and then the person in that rental dwelling would provide that rental policy that would insure their items and their own liability within the home as well. And there's some liability coverage in there for the owner of the rental dwelling, but they have no contents.
Okay.
So the one that I think gets the most complicated in our world, and investors are interested in the condominium purchase and the townhome purchase, especially if they're looking to have rental inventory, because of the lack of maintenance required by them, right? They pay a little bit more up front. Their tenants are very happy. The house is being maintained automatic. They don't have in that it's a lot maintenance for this with a condominium is very different than what a home is, and you have to be very specific when you're purchasing one as to what type of policy you need. So a townhome may be a condo policy, but it also might be your homeowner's policy or your rental dwelling. And I'll tell you what dictates that. You have to know what the master policy of the association is covering, and your insurance meets that deficit. Okay, so some condominiums are townhomes, and they do not rebuild the structure in the event of a total loss. They only maintain the outside of the structure. It might be common roof, things like that. So in that situation, the person that owns the home would have to have a full rental dwelling policy, and then the tenant would have their renter's policy in order for it to be fully insured. A condo policy is going to give you minimal structural rebuild, but give you the liability you need around the home due to the master policy of the association having limited coverages. So I think that's our most confusing investment process is the condo townhome purchase and not knowing which insurance they need and what their tenant would be or resale partner would be responsible for.
So if I understood you correctly, so one of the things is, especially when you're purchasing a property, is making sure that you're making contact with that condo association or homeowners association to verify what is actually being covered.
Correct. And you're paying those fees every month, right? You're paying a condo fee, and the condo fee is going to, I will say 60 to 70% of the time, it's going to rebuild the exterior of the structure. It is not going to provide the finishes inside. We call it paint or drywall in coverage that you need as a condo owner. Now, sometimes all in that master policy, it's strictly liability for the association. And in that case, no one is going to rebuild your structure except for your full homeowner's policy.
Oh, wow.
So even though it looks like a condo or looks like a townhome, it still might need a single family home policy called a homeowner's policy.
Okay. So this is another reason, I mean, just besides the fact that there's so many variables with that you have to have an insurance person. You picked a very confusing one at the beginning.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think when you're in a single family home, it's pretty clear cut. You're either going to purchase it and you're going to fix it up and you're going to put another home, another owner in it. Sorry. Or you're going to fix it up and you want to put a tenant in it. Okay. So in those situations, you know it's a single family home. You know what your responsibilities are. It's a little easier to decide based on the visual of it, right? But when you're in a townhome community or in a condominium community, you really have to be able to review or have someone view the master policy of the association. Money owing, you're going to pay those fees, whether it's carrying costs for you while you're renting it. So you have to know what you're paying for.
Okay. Yeah, and I know when buying, say specifically with condos and so forth, I know getting those condo docs ahead of time at the beginning of the process is typically a part of the agreement, making sure that you're getting those documents ASAP. So that's one of the things that potential buyers can uncover and be able to figure out, ultimately still having that conversation with whomever their insurance professional. Give Deb a call on that. And then just really understanding what the association is looking for. Because I can see that. I've definitely seen some townhomes that townhomes with the upstairs, downstairs, but they were in a condo association. And I think with my mindset, and I'm sure other people probably think the same way, when they think condos, they only think of a one-story or just like an apartment style living space. And that's not always true. So definitely following up and getting that type of information is going to be key. So I definitely agree
Yeah,
with you on that. So.
absolutely. So one of the things we didn't touch on is something that, so if investors are really in it to fix and flip, and they're going to do any of the work themselves, they would need to have their own builder's risk. That's not a product we work in Florida, but it is a product that they would want to get researched out and make sure they carry their own builder's risk on a property. So, and make sure that you're asking, like you talked about in your last module, about the insurance coverages of your contractors you're hiring. Because if you, let's do a case in point. If you purchased a home cash and your intention is to fix it up, sell it. So you decide, I don't have to have insurance. I'm going to skip that cost and I don't want to be bothered with it. And then you brought a contractor onto your property and you did not verify he was licensed and insured, and he became injured, that liability is 100% on the owner of that property now. And there are people that not only will verify that you're licensed and insured, they'll still require that you sign a waiver to step foot on their property. And that's a very good idea.
Yep. I've definitely from a couple of mentors there, they've provided me with some documents with exactly what you're mentioning, that waiver or contractor agreement, just to make sure, because you know, there's some unfortunate situations, and when those unfortunate situations happen, they're big. It's just not like I won't say it's like a paper cut. It's cutting deep. It's cutting deep when those situations.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, that's definitely a great point right
Absolutely.
there. So, and
so along the lines of other concerns that you want to have, and we'll move into a little bit around the permitting process and working with licensed contractors, your insurance company is going to ask for inspection reports on the sale of a home to the new owner. Those inspection reports that we want are exclusively a 4-point inspection and or an up-to-date wind mitigation report for the new buyer. The 4-point really just covers your 4 main systems: the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, and the heating and cooling. If you have taken shortcuts and said, I rewired the whole home, but maybe you really just put in a new pretty panel box, that will come to light in the 4-point. You know, if you have said, oh, I re-piped the whole home, all new plumbing, but you really just put a few pieces of PVC in there, that will come through in the 4-point. And in order to get all the discounts that would apply to that homeowner, we're going to turn, you know, a lot of our process would be to turn back to the contractor and say, you need to sign off that this was a full update. Okay. And if you don't have the permits or the documentation or the ability to sign off on those documents, then we're going to have to go back to that homeowner potentially before closing and say, this is going to cost you a lot more than you thought it was because these updates are incomplete.
Yeah, cutting corners, and that's and like you said, with the permitting and having those professional contractors actually come in and actually do the work and actually do the sign off for you. I know, especially in the festival world, I see it, and I'll say even in your regular homeowner world, you see where people may know someone that can do the job for them, but it's not signed off. It doesn't get that official stamp. And that official stamp at the end of the day saves you money.
And earns you more money in profits. It's more valuable, I think, in the end, because so if we're talking to especially, you know, we're talking dates matter in Florida, right? The big date that really matters in Florida is post Hurricane Andrew, post 1993 construction. Okay, that means that the new codes were in place that have some type of wind strapping of some type, even if it was the originating, you know, clips, bare bone basic stuff. Okay, if you're pre 1993 construction, all your insurance companies are going to be rating it significantly higher. Your homeowner's payment is insurance payment will be significantly higher. It'll be reflective of the risk. Hurricane Andrew almost bankrupt every insurance company in the state of Florida. They're terrified of pre-1993 construction. They look very, very closely at those properties. So as investors, you want to look really closely at those properties, because if it's going to be costing you more to insure, even as a rental dwelling, because it's harder to even get that insurance, are you sure you want it? Do you have to charge more rent because of it? Is all the work you're going to do to fix it up netting you the profit you want, when the end buyer is going to have an extra $100 a month in their insurance payment and make them less mortgage eligible, right? Because that payment has to make sense.
Right.
They have to qualify to buy the home. So those are just things that come into play when we look at these dates. And I will tell you that the hard, fast date you really have to be careful around is 1994 and later.
Gotcha.
Past that, in State Farm world, any home that's over 10 years old has to have a 4-point inspection. We're the only company that does have a 10-year limitation, but we are also the #1 insurance company in Florida, and we've been in this business for 98 years, and we're just tougher. We're just a little tougher on that process. Other insurance companies will tell you 15 years on a 4-point. Some will even stretch it to 20.
Oh, wow.
So it does matter who you're getting your quotes through, what their inspection is going to require. Your wind mitigation report is really all about getting that homeowner, if they just for the type of construction, thereby make the home more affordable for them long term.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, you know, even though that the guidelines are a little bit more tightened there, but it's a benefit to the buyer, whoever's buying that property. And just because a lot of people won't be aware of, say, that 4-point inspection, but it's a good thing to have. I mean, just because if it's being inspected, the 4-point is being done, you understand, like you said, those are the major systems of the home. If those items are intact, you know, you're in good shape. And if they're not intact, those are some high ticketed items to have to replace. Replacing a roof, one, it's expensive, and then two, especially being in Florida, I'm sure that is very common around the States, is that you can't just call it in one day and they'll be out there the next day to get it done. There's usually like some type of a waiting period. So if there's something that needs to be done as soon as possible, it can be a bit of a challenge. So
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then there's other damage if the roof leaked, right?
That's a big domino effect. That's a huge domino effect, especially with water. Right. Dealing anything with water, especially with leaks, water finds the lowest valley, as they say, and will seep there and then just create havoc. So definitely. So I mean, that's another reason, multiple reasons right there. That'll save you thousands of dollars just in itself, making sure that you're having those steps done. So all right.
A 4-point inspection is good for 6 months world.
6 months, okay.
So if say if as an investor you decided to have the roof checked out and the inspector said, look, for 20, like most of inspectors, it's an add-on. It's a $20, $30, $40 add-on if they're already there. So they're like, you know, did you want the wind mitigation? You could say as an investor, you know, this is something I can provide to the buyer. Should they choose to, you know, select this property, I'll pass the wind mitigation report on to them. Nothing's changed, that type of thing. So they can take a look at that on the front end, and it'll be factored in so that they have an accurate insurance quote going into the transaction.
That's that's something that I push, but maybe not in that that angle, and that's a very good angle that I may definitely start considering. And I always tell my investors, hey, always get the property inspected. you know, but I didn't realize that you can transfer, that those reports are transferable. So that's definitely another good selling point right there. Because I would assume that any buyer, that if they know that the property's had that inspection completed already, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable in actually purchasing that home.
Absolutely. Yes,
So,
100%. And like the hardest part for us sometimes is we're guessing on what their wind mitigation discount may or may not be. Okay. Because there's ways of inputting that data in our system, especially if the home is also 2000, because 2001 building codes didn't go into effect until mid 2002. And if it was permitted pre mid 2002, it's still a 2000 building code home. So it's very deceiving.
Okay.
And 2001, which we can't actually use until the house is actually and built in, is the next big hurricane.
Okay. Yeah. So long story short, I would tell a lot of people, make sure you have the insurance professional on your team. One of the big things, and it's a lot to know. You know, I tell people I generally have a general idea. I don't try to be a perfectionist in insurance. That's why I have insurance professionals that's what they know. That's what they do on a daily basis. And that's why you have them on your team. That's one of the important things, especially with these upcoming modules, is building your super team and having an insurance professional on your team, and having someone that is knowledgeable and that can provide you with that information. You know, I know it saved me a couple of times going into deals, just being able to be able to reach out to people and say on the insurance side and say, hey, you know, I'm going through the situation, you know, what's your feedback? You know, something that I'm completely stressing over, you know, insurance professionals such as yourself is just like, oh, you just have to do this and do that, and you should be able to get coverage, or you know, may want to reconsider this, you know, things that I would never think of. So definitely having an insurance professional on your team is key, and another key person to have there. So
I'm going to close on one other topic that we need to touch on real quick.
Okay.
Flood insurance. And the reason I'm going to touch on it is because flood insurance is a very unique beast in Florida. Okay. Because we have a lot of flood zones, but what you want to be cautious of is if you're in flood zone AE. Okay. And sometimes properties will be in AE and you'll say, oh, but the house is really, it's built much higher. But no one's ever done a flood elevation survey. So you can't prove that without it. So the cost difference for a buyer buying a home in flood zone AE is anywhere from $600 to $700 a month. Okay, so flood zone X is you're in the dangerous zone. You're not quite at the flood level, but you're in a little bit of risk. So you have the option of buying flood insurance, and that can run you about $500 to $600 a year, and you have the option to buy flood insurance. When you're in AE, that means you are in the level of water.
Okay.
It's not a matter of if you're going to flood, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes the land is in AE and no one has done a flood elevation survey to prove that the house is not. Okay. Because it's all about paying money for someone to go out there and determine the height that the house is built to at the lowest level. So if
I've had that experience.
You bought a property cheaply. Yeah. You bought a property very inexpensively. Looks like a great house. And oh, this is going to be an amazing profit. And then you realize that in order to sell it, someone is going to spend $500 to $600 a month on flood insurance, and nobody wants that in their payment. You might be sitting on that house for a long time. The other alternative is that flood elevation survey, which costs a bit of money, but house is not in the flood zone, just some of the land, which takes them to that flood zone X, where flood insurance becomes very affordable and even optional.
Optional, yeah. Yeah.
So that's definitely when I try and clarify for folks, because they're like, oh my God, I'm getting this great deal. Deb, what does flood zone AE mean? Like,
yeah. It's like a foreign language.
AE means expensive.
AE is expensive. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Yep.
Right. All right.
So, but we don't have to sell you your insurance to get advice from us. I want to make sure you are all clear on that. I work with a lot of people that ask me for advice and let them know what our quotes are. I know we're not a good fit for everybody, but I will tell you, I will always give you honest advice, and I will give you great referrals if you need an alternative insurance agent to work with. We're not here to be the perfect fit for everybody, but we are here to help you and give you good advice. And if we're a good fit for you, we want to sell you the insurance.
Exactly. Now, with that being said, Deb, how, if we want people to reach out to you, so how do they contact you? Social media? How do they reach out to you?
Sure. So I have a very easy, quick website. Anyone can go to debprescott.com. So DEBPRESCOTT.com. They can call me at 813-575-1799. And you can email me, deb@debprescott.com.
All right.
Any of those ways to reach.
All right. Well, there you go, guys. Industry professional, Ms. Deb Prescott. You have her contact information. Be sure to reach out to her if you guys have some questions, especially if you're purchasing properties. You're going to need that insurance professional on your side. So be sure to reach out, contact Deb. Deb, did you have any last words or anything?
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining you.
Definitely,
Thank
Deb.
you so much.
Deb, we appreciate it. And we definitely appreciate the information and the feedback that you provided today. And like I said, guys, reach out to Deb if you guys have those questions regards to insurance. She's the person that you want to contact and making things happen, especially in these upcoming years. So to everyone, this is Chris Brown, your real estate professional, closing out. Really appreciate you guys. Take care.